I'm trying to figure out if I should ramble more or if I should introduce the podcast. I'm on the fence.
At this point in time, there's already rambling, and we're on a bit of a time crunch compared to other recordings, or the exact same amount of other recordings. But
Yeah, this was 2.5 hours long. This is a Zack Snyder movie, so it is a bit longer. I guess on the bright side, I didn't get my fourth nick. I was I entered a moment in this movie where I thought the sentence I'm gonna get my fourth nickel for seeing zombie fetuses in the movie. I didn't quite,
I
but I'm still at 15. I'm still at 3 nickels, but yeah, it was a close one, near miss.
actually kind of there's definitely a zombie fetus in this film, so I don't know what you're talking
Well,
about.
no, it's not like it's never it's never I never see it like a like unalive, like back from the dead. So I'm not counting it.
Oh, okay, yeah, I
Yeah,
see what
yeah,
you're saying.
yeah. No, it
Which is
never.
which is a
Yeah, go ahead.
weird situation in this film because it's technically a zombie and technically a fetus, so the fact that it was dead is kind of really hit or miss, but I guess that's very situational, considering the scene and all. We'll get into it when we actually get into it, but
Yeah, my definition for the sake of Nichols is like it has to like survive outside of the womb. Really sorry to start the podcast like that. Really, welcome to the podcast of the Living Zombie, the Night of the Living Dead fan cast, where we examine all the films that descended from the Night of the Living Dead. This week, as you saw in the title, Army of the Dead, long-awaited sequel to Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead.
yeah, I didn't
Uh,
realize this was a Zack Schneider film up until I actually sat down and watched the opening credits. And I say opening credits because it goes through this whole, I don't know, I would say 5 minute kill sequence, which was really awesome. I really like that. Um, but yeah, all things considered, this movie had a lot going for it, and between having Zack Schneider in it, I started watching it and I'm like, oh, this is a Dave Bautista film. Awesome. I liked him in Guardians of the Galaxy. This should be good. And then it had a couple of other people show up in the cast. It's a very ensembled cast. It has Tig Notaro, who was the stand-up comedian, and I think she's been in a couple of films and television series. Then it had Theo Rossi, who was in most notably, he played in Sons of Anarchy as Juice, who was one of the Sons of Anarchy, and then all the other people I kind of didn't real recognize, like the main villain. I'm gonna butcher this, but uh, Hir- Hiroki Sonda. He's Japanese, and now that I'm actually looking at his filmography, I can see that he's been in quite a lot of films. Also, he was in
yeah.
Endgame somewhere.
I'm not I don't know. Was he the Yakuza guy at the very beginning? I don't want to like assume
I
that, but
couldn't
I'm
tell
not.
you.
Yeah, I can't I can't put my finger on who he was, and that's the only like Asian side character I'm thinking of who wasn't like a major member of the cast. This film maintains the tradition of all these franchise of not having, I don't think, a single returning. I guess yeah, no, I guess the Return of the Living Dead have a returning character, but this maintains the tradition of each of these films being pretty well standalone. I think the most firm sequels are the ones between like obviously Return of the Living Dead Part 1 and 2. But this is again a sequel in almost a name only, because I don't know that this is I don't know if this is using any of the same like groups. Did was the '04 Dawn of the Dead even? I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna see if it was made by Warner Brothers. No, the previous one is the original Dawn. The 2004 Dawn of the Dead was Universal, which I suppose they can do because yeah, it's aping that, but there's no like real direct connection. Like, I don't think that's a money. I don't know if Dawn of the Dead's been transferred in rights to Warner Brothers. I don't think it has.
It's not a true successor. It's supposed to be a spiritual successor to Dawn of the Dead.
Also,
So I mean,
like,
the fact that it
yeah,
doesn't completely follow all of the like all of the Dawn of the Dead storylines kind of makes sense. Although Dawn of the Dead was universally like a worldwide apocalypse, and this one seems to be kind of limited to only Las Vegas, which is something that I kind of like, considering like it's it's isolated, right? And it's not like, well, it spreads by the end of the movie.
yeah. This strikes me as like this more would almost more fit into the world of like the original Dawn of the Dead, because there was still like people running around in the original Dawn of the Dead, whereas this one, I don't. Yeah, yeah. This one doesn't follow like the original, like the '04 Dawn of the Dead. It's like it's that takes place in a worldwide zombie apocalypse, but in this, I suppose maybe the world recovered, but it seems like we're pretty it seems like this is pretty well set up with like a pretty modern apocalypse, like the pre like we see smartphones in this film. And you gotta believe if these guys were like living in a post apocalyptic world, like they probably wouldn't have cell phones just yet, like iPhones or whatever. And then again, maybe not. If the world collapsed in 2004, I don't know that we're too far off.
I guess when we're looking at the filmography here, there was a 2021 other prequel to it, and just reading through a quick synopsis of the prequel, a zombie outbreak in Nevada dominates international news. So it's still limited to Nevada. Nevada is still Las Vegas. I don't know. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Okay. No, I think I got it. Like just mentally trying to picture the timeline of like how this falls into place within the two stories, I guess, from the zombie apocalypse being broken out and them quarantine off of quarantining off Las Vegas and this film in itself, because it would be before Dave Bautista recruits this guy who stars in the second film, but before the events of this heist, essentially.
So the timelines, this doesn't take place really in the same universe as the 2004 Dawn of the Dead.
It is the second installment in the Army of the Dead franchise, so.
Yeah, I think I think there's probably rights issues there if we really want to.
Mhm.
I think yeah, and the more I read like the Wikipedia, it seems like this was an idea, and it was in like yeah, it seems like it was in development hell for a little while before like Netflix decided to give him money to give Zach money to do this. Yes, a shooting started in like 2019, and then they had to do some reshoots in 2020 because apparently they had a guy, Chris D'Elia, who was replaced in the movie. He was going to play, I think, the helicopter pilot. Yeah, he was going to play the helicopter pilot who's been replaced by Tegan Notoro. Who's a very interesting character. I like her. I like her performance quite a bit.
From my understanding, the way that they replaced her was via green screen, if I was reading that
Um,
correctly. Which is kind of interesting. The fact that they already had the whole sheet, like all the scenes shot, and then they're like, "Oh, we need to." Yeah, he was replaced by Natara using green screen and CGI. So I guess they have a little bit more workaround with CGI. But if they're trying to like green screen her into where like the old actor was, I could see some issues coming from that. But with
yeah,
CGI, it kind of fixes it.
this character's kind of on their own for most of the movie anyway, so it's not as hard a deal. You don't really. I didn't notice like any like hard cuts.
Mhm.
Maybe a couple moments where it looked a little weird, but I mean, you could get that same effect by having like a stunt man in that scene or whatever. But yeah, and this also isn't to be confused with the 2008 film Army of the Dead. Yeah, that's not on the docket to get reviewed at the present time. Maybe like way later. It's not related to any of the it's not a direct descendant of Night of the Living Dead, so yeah, it's not like maybe eventually, just because it's called Of the Dead. But I think I got like more stuff I'd rather do for a little while. If anyone's curious about that, I also don't know that it's trying to ape anything. I also don't know that this is zombie. I don't think it's a zombie. I don't know that
So
this is a zombie
yeah,
movie either.
the next film apparently in this series. What do you mean?
I think it's just like a undead movie. It looks like the guy on the cover of the Army of the Dead 2008 is like there's a skeleton, but it's not a zombie. It might just be like a
I would
generic undead film.
in which film?
The 2008 Army of the Dead that we're not going to review for a while.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say the next film is called Planet of the Dead. So clearly something went wrong, and I think we know what went wrong,
Oh,
but something else went wrong at this point in time. So there is was supposed to be a planned sequel, but I don't know if Zack Snyder is exactly like putting his all into this at this point in time. So,
yeah, it says it's in production or in development, which
mhm.
could mean literally anything.
Well, honestly, from my understanding, with a 70 to 90 million dollar budget, and you only make $1 million at the box office,
Well, to be fair, this
um,
is a
I
Netflix
don't.
movie. That's not necessarily what they're getting their success from. Also, this came out in 2021, so you're like they can forget getting like I don't think that's still probably too soon in pandemic to be getting any real like box office money. So like you'd probably need to like in order to really gauge the success of this, you'd need to like look at like Netflix numbers, which yeah, you don't we none of us have. Like I don't think unless Netflix decides to brag about it, I don't think we know we need to, they're going to tell us anything about how well this movie actually did. But yeah, this is with this film, we'll get the Zack Snyder stuff out of the way for a little while until I guess until Planet of the Dead eventually maybe comes out. I don't. We're not doing Army of Thieves. It's not a zombie movie. There's like a couple in it, but like it maybe be like a long way away if we did do it. But I don't think it counts for this show.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Dave Bautista's the main character in this. I think he's he's all right. I don't know how many movies he's been like the star of um
V-
lately.
Very few. And according to the Wikipedia page, it was he had a chance to start like work in the Suicide Squad, which was done by James Gunn. And knowing Dave Bautista's background as like being in the not in the Suicide Squad, in the Guardians of Galaxy, he was really reportedly gonna take this over, like take the Suicide Squad over this movie, but then he figured out it was Zack Snyder doing the production, and then on top of that, Netflix, and he said he wanted more dramatic roles, but this was a no-brainer for him, so he had to tell Zack
Yeah.
Schneider or James Gunn that he was going to film this film instead of his Suicide Squad. So
Yeah, he plays a character in Doom. He's in a couple other he's in a bunch of random movies. He's in like the new Blade Runner. Yeah, there's not too much really right now. Yeah, he's obviously an old wrestler, but I thought he was okay in this. I think I've kind of, if I were to like say the role that like Dave Bautista plays in cinema right now, I'm going to say he's who's as cool as as Steven Seagal thinks he is. Like if you want to hire a guy who's kind of got like Steven Seagal energy, but don't want to hire Steven Seagal because Steven Seagal's a big piece of shit. Yeah, this is the guy to hire. Which I think, yeah, absolutely hire Dave Bautista before Steven Seagal. So yeah, that's probably a cool thing. Yeah, I think that's kind of the energy I'm getting from him.
I don't know how to break this to him, but I don't think he's gonna find the success that he wants within like he said he wanted more dramatic films, and I don't know if he can pull it off. And in my opinion, watching this like just kind of reaffirms that for me. Like he walked away from Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm like, that might not have been the best career move for you, but I mean, all the power to you. You probably have enough money to kind of coast for a bit if you really needed to. So
He was kind of getting underutilized in there. Like they really didn't give Drax's character his like dramatic end point when you really get down to it. Like he really like Drax never got his moment with Thanos really, and that was like his entire point of his character when they introduced him in the first one was that he wanted to fight Thanos, and we never really got that. But yeah, I mean, Marvel's never done its best by its big shirtless green men, so yeah, that's just how that is. I mean, he did better in 3. I don't know that I really was a big. I'm not. They never did as much with his characters. I think they should have. But yeah, I think we'll get into it. So, Army of the Dead. We open to a bunch of radio going on from like military chatter. These guys are leaving Area 51 with a thing in a box on a road to an unspecified location. They're driving down the highway and they're met with this couple who have just gotten married in Vegas, and the the bride is giving the groom roadhead in the car, and the groom is drifting past the yellow lane and goes into a head-on collision with the head of this military convoy and gives us a hellishly big explosion. Because the military convoys weren't paying attention at that moment. Yeah, last two movies, not really good portrayals of the military. Yeah, the military is not portrayed as the best in this. I thought which I suppose means they're not getting military funding for this. I think so. Yeah, that's not necessarily the worst thing. Yeah, they're dragging this thing. This causes a big explosion, and when the box that the big army truck is carrying like falls off like flies off the trailer, and the door breaks open, unleashing the thing inside, and that goes on to kill all the soldiers who go to recover it. It's revealed that this is some sort of undead super being, maybe recovered from an earlier zombie thing, but that's not specified. There's never any information about where the zombie, like other than it was, I guess, a government project. Although whether the government originally created it or what, I don't know. In a way, in this zombie who is a character known as Zeus, who's what's known in this movie as an alpha, like a alpha. Although alphas are the thing that this zombie bites, and they become like higher intelligence running zombies. So yeah, this is a whole thing, and this is
I don't like the distinction here, though. Kind of does it, yeah, does it really differently compared to like the because you've got your shamblers, like you've got your slow moving like stupid zombies, which we see really heavily in the opening credit scenes where Dave Batista and his gang is just like mowing down zombies with machine guns, and they're just like dying very fast. But this guy, like you see the shooting of this guy barely puts even like a dent into him unless you get him straight in the head as the alphas. So so it has a very distinct, like a very big distinction between the zombies or the class of zombies, at least in this. I'm gonna call them vampires there for a second, considering like that's kind of generally what they are at this point in time.
yeah. I've I think I've spoken to this about on the show, where I think it's something that hasn't really been explored. Is the connect? I don't think they've really explored like the connection between like vampires and zombies as much as maybe people should eventually. I think maybe like you could explore the thing that like a vampire is like a very old zombie who's just gotten very like powerful over like being surviving for a long time. And I think that's kind of it's a way of doing it. I don't know. But yeah, in this movie the zombies have sort of a hierarchy where there's a bunch of like random ones. There's this main zombie Zeus, and he bites other ones that are fast, which actually provides a good thing because you got the really strong zombie to make a bunch of slightly stronger zombies who can spread the disease easier. The third level of zombie isn't much of a big deal except in big numbers, but you do have these faster ones that can get you out of a pinch or cause the virus to spread faster if you're dealing with like a tough target or whatever. It never stops anything from being contained, but still.
That's only 3 tiers, right?
Yeah, I think 3 tiers.
So if you get bitten by a shambler, I'm assuming you just become a shambler. But if you get bitten by the ones
Yeah,
that were bitten by the alpha, you just become a shambler.
yeah, and if you got to get, and that's why there we see a little bit
The
later
alpha has
the
to be bitten by Zeus to
yeah
become an alpha. I'm just checking my zombie math on this one, like trying to figure out whether or not I got it 100% correct. So
yeah. I think there's maybe an implication that the alpha queen can turn other people into alphas, but that's never confirmed.
not that I can think of, no.
But yeah, this happens, and the Zeus gets loose and go takes the bunch of soldiers he just turned into alphas and goes to raid Las Vegas, and essentially this results in a big apocalypse level scenario around the city of Las Vegas, which eventually ends up in the scenario where the entirety of Vegas gets walled off so that zombies can't escape. So yeah, that's a
This is also kind of really stupid because like the alphas seem to be pseudo intelligent, and like they've stacked like maybe 5 shipping containers high, which is like maybe, I don't know, a 50-foot wall. Like it's not as much of a wall. It's like maybe I'm just looking at it from what they show us on the screen, but I feel like it's not high enough to really like keep any form of like intelligent life forms out.
There's maybe the slightest implication that the military is both aware and is perhaps negotiating with Zeus on some level, but that's never shown on screen.
I mean, I guess there is a military
Yeah,
presence outside
yeah.
of Las Vegas in the quarantine zone, so
And the reason I say that is because, yeah, like my little fan theory is that like the military is undergoing this operation, like, or at least a branch of this military, the military is undergoing this operation mostly because like they want to recover their asset to a degree, but yeah, there's maybe perhaps they're like giving offerings to Zeus in order to like keep him in his cage. Maybe, I don't know. It could, maybe I'm full of it though.
yeah. It'd be an interesting concept at least to play around with.
Yeah, there's maybe more. I mean, there's always been more stuff to play in any of the good versions of these movies.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, we get the apocalypse shown to us. We get little clips of three of our main characters, chiefly Dave Bautista's character, Omari Hardwick's character Vanderho, and Samantha Wynn. Samantha Wynn's character Chambers, I think.
No. Chambers is the lady that
I think.
Guzman brings with him. Uh, the other,
Okay, I thought that was Greta.
sorry,
I thought that was Greta. Maybe I could be wrong though.
I think Greta's the one that uh, Batista is supposed to love in the end.
Okay, maybe I got that backwards then. Greta played by Huma Kurishi. But yeah, we get a mainly between those three characters, and they're doing the whole. They're apparently part of this rescue team, who like rescues people from Las Vegas during the hard times, and this is all shown to us over a weird bad cover of Viva Las Vegas, played by like a guy trying to do a Sinatra impression and some lady who's doing the sad bits when we're supposed to be sad during it. It's not my favorite part of the movie, honestly. It's kind of like cool visuals, but I think maybe they should have reconsidered some things. I
I'd
don't know.
really compare this scene to the scene in Deadpool to where they're jumping out of the plane and everything's going completely wrong. Like that's what it feels like.
Mhm. So yeah, we get ourselves reintroduced to Batista's character Scott Ward, who is flipping burgers at a burger joint. When he's met by Hiroyuki Sanada's character. I think they've listed his character's name wrong. I don't know.
Uh, it is Bly Tanaka.
Okay, yeah, they have it listed as they have it listed weird in the Google, and it's not the Wikipedia's got it right, but the Google has his name listed as Hunter Bly for some reason. Anyway, not important. So Tanaka comes and introduces himself to Scott and says that hey, I'm a former casino owner. All my casino stuff's been like written off for insurance purposes, but it's all still there. I have a big safe underneath my casino with $200 million in it. If you go get it for me, I'll give you like 50 million of that. And he leaves Scott with some blueprints and leaves him to consider the offer. And this is a bit of time sensitive because United States government is going to nuke Las Vegas at like the end of the week.
No, 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 no. On the 4th of July, you have to bring that up. That is the most American thing you can think of.
This brings me to my other thing. I'm pretty sure this is President Trump. I'm pretty sure Trump's doing this. Like the timeline kind of makes sense. Like
I mean,
like
later
Trump rode the zombie apocalypse to a second term in 2020, and yeah, I think that's what happened here.
it's it's a lot funnier if you watch it later on and you listen to the news report broadcast where they're announcing that they're gonna nuke the city later. The newscaster is like reading and he's like, "Yeah, we can't actually do that because of like civil liability reasons, and it was kind of a stupid idea to begin with, but the president thought it would be like all patriotic and shit or something along those lines, and it's just
It's going
funny."
to be really cool, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be the biggest explosion ever. It is going to be permanently end the zombie issue and bring about a new age, which only I could have brought about with my massive hands and brilliant hair. Thank you, people of America. I hope you will consider this in 2024 when you, after I've repealed the 22nd Amendment, so you can vote me in for a third term. That's sorry, that was traumatizing to a lot of you. I realize.
A
I
lot of us
apologize.
haven't like, heard of like a Donald Trump at all in like almost 3 years because I stopped paying attention to him.
Oh
Uh,
my god. The
I-
best thing we ever did as a society was ban Donald Trump's Twitter. Like I realize they've unbanned him and he could go back anytime, but he hasn't. And it's just been the nicest thing that has ever happened. Like the fact that you don't have to listen to Donald Trump every day of your life is like a blessing. Because you forget that those years when he was like president and like he was doing something every week, it was the worst. And now we don't have to live like that. Like it's still bad, like he's still gonna keep coming back, but it's still not as bad. Like obviously, don't give him an inch or anything. If you vote in the United States, don't vote for him. Vote for I guess the other guy because that's how that works. But it's it's not nearly as like on the daily insufferable as it
Also,
was.
if you want
It
to
might
take
it might get that way if he gets back in, but I
if
don't
you want
know.
to take this absolutely with any form of grain of salt, Kyle as a Canadian actually shouldn't be saying who to vote for as a Canadian, uh, because it's illegal. So
I guess.
yeah,
Oh yeah, who? Yeah.
I'd rather not be sued for $5,000.
Oh, you tell me what they can get mad at me if they apologize for like loaning Pearson JFK's campaign advisor, because like that's way worse than whatever I just said. Like I that's I'm not giving any money to like American political causes. So it really is not a big deal. So it's also pointed out in the some of the news footage we see that yeah, this is definitely like a right wing dictatorship because one of one of the people on air has pointed out that like anytime you mention things about gay marriage or abortion, you get like a thermometer to like get tested for zombieism. So yeah, I'm glad that they've taken this stance that like they've just said yeah, this is a firm right wing dictatorship that's in play here. No half ass thing.
No beating around the bush at this point. I could have told you it was a right wing dictatorship because like a lot of the illegal immigrants are locked in a camp right beside Las Vegas.
Oh yeah,
So, so
also a textual statement to the film.
mhm, weirdly underlying political.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising. I don't think a lot of people expect this out of Zack Snyder, but then again, I don't know. I don't think his politics are like as what some people necessarily think they are. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, it's also pointed out that they don't really have like a zombie test in this. They're just sort of like going by like thermometer. So like it's absolutely a thing where like they can if your body temperature is below a certain amount, they can like detain you. And it's not like a COVID test. It's more like if we never developed the it's just like they're just going by symptoms rather than anything. And also the realm around Las Vegas, in which there is a like refugee camp, mostly undocumented people. I'll say it seems like it's the implication there, but it's stated in film that like this is a place where like habeas corpus has been suspended. There's a straight up sign that says the United States Constitution is not in effect within this area. That is actually something I'm pretty sure they're allowed to do, especially like as long as like Congress approves it, you can like suspend do martial law or suspend habeas corpus around like specific areas. Like that is a thing you can do because I know they've done it immediately during like the lead up to the Civil War. Lincoln suspended habeas corpus around rail lines so that people could get to Congress and they could deal with like the oncoming secession crisis. This is like immediately when he gets put into office. But so yeah, it's also we get some scenes with the camp. We get introduced to Dave's daughter. What's her name? Kate, who is helping out in the camp. She is a volunteer in the area. We get some world building saying that like occasionally there's smugglers that'll get you into the camp, get you into Vegas to go smuggle stuff, and also that the camp is like being run by certain people who just have unlimited authority to do stuff. Significantly, the one we meet we interact with throughout the movie is a character named Bert Cummings, who is played by Theo Rossi, who's also like a pretty gross guy. And they have Kate, I think a character named Maria, and and Kate and Maria have this very like tense conversation with him where he like threatens them at several points. It's pretty it's pretty like disgusting behavior. And yeah, that's a bit of world building there. Kate eventually talks Maria out of going into Vegas to go do stuff. So, but yeah, it'll be revealed later that Maria didn't listen and has gone to the city anyway. It's also pointed out at some point that the people in this camp are getting moved to a different camp because they're standing right next to a place that's going to be nuked. So Scott goes to some of his friends from the beginning of the movie and offers them a portion of the money in order to go on this plan with them. He offers the three main people 15 million and offer and he's also going to give 15 million to his daughter Kate. Actually, I think that's it might just be 15 million between him and Greta. So and then they just give everyone else random amounts of money. And the reason they're doing this is because they didn't want to Scott didn't want to do it at first, but he was just like, after helping all those people, I didn't really get anything out of it, and I think I should just do something for me. Also, he's like suffering from a lot of PTSD. So, yeah, that's also a thing, which is demonstrated when he has a nightmare about when his late wife was zombified and he had to put her down. So, yeah. So he starts asking people. He asks Vanderho, who's a big, cool looking character with a big rescue saw for like doing search and rescue, which he uses as a weapon to cut zombies in half. It's really cool. He goes to Marianne Peters, who's played by who we mentioned earlier, played by Tig. She's a helicopter pilot, and he offers to pay her $2 million, which she immediately accepts without question. They find Reddit a guy from like YouTube who just kills us all as zombies, played by Raul Castillo, playing a character named Mickey Guzman, who brings along two of his goons. He's getting paid $500,000 to go help them kill zombies. And then they recruit a cracker, a German guy named Ludwig Dieter, who's like the main character of Army of Thieves, I guess. Not that that's really important here. And they're going to offer him $250,000 to crack the safe. He's a German guy, and they're going to be they need him particularly because they're like cracking one of the world's most sensitive safes called like the Gammerung, something German like that. So they all gather up. They get brought up on the plan. They have they'll have 32 hours to do it. And they got to go into this hotel, get in on ground because no one can fly in, but you're allowed to fly out apparently. And there is an abandoned helicopter on top of the casino that's that they're going to repair and refuel. Meanwhile, everyone else will crack the safe, and that's how they'll get out of there. And if all this goes correctly, they should be able to do so with like 24 hours to spare.
That's really dumb when you look at it.
Yeah.
Why can you fly into a zombie? Like, why can't you can fly into or you can't fly into the zombie infested like shit show, but you can fly out of it?
Well, okay, so I think part of this on two points. One, it's this is a rule that applies to private aircraft, I think. The military can probably fly in or out if they want,
Hmm.
but like as a civilian aircraft, they don't want civilians going in there to go looting or whatever. All this stuff has apparently been written off or whatever. But and also if someone was in there, they could get out, and that would be like a humanitarian thing. Like if someone's escaping the situation, that's fine, but you're not allowed to like go in.
Okay, yeah. But y- you would make the assumption that they want to contain the zombie outbreak as much as possible. So in theory, my or at least in my opinion, if you're flying out, then it should be shoot on sight just based on the idea of like we need to keep people uninfected, right? Rather than
I don't imagine they're gonna let you do this unimpeded. I imagine they're gonna go check up on you or whatever.
but they don't.
Um, it is also you do also probably have a point. Yeah,
Like that's like the major plot line of the film is they don't do that. So
yeah, no, you probably have a point. But yeah, I'm just giving out that what I think the perhaps reasons are. After like explaining the plans, one of Reddit guy's goons leaves because he thinks this is a dumb idea. It's also established here that like most of this crew is like experienced zombie killers, with like two exceptions. One being I think the goon and the other goon who's a lady, and then also like the safecracker because that's not his job.
uh
So yeah, that's a thing.
no.
Oh
Chambers' character seems to be fairly adequate in killing zombies. The other guy that Guzman brings just flakes out as soon as he sees a zombie. So the
okay,
only other character that I would say
yeah, but there
probably,
was a lady.
yeah, that's Chambers.
Okay, yeah, I guess yeah, that's who I was saying the goon was.
Yeah. So there's Chambers, and then there's Kate, and then there's Greta, and then there's the coyote who comes later. So
But yeah, this is the main crew who's showing up now. Also, they're adding on Martin, who's working for Tanaka, and maybe the government, I suppose. It's unclear.
I was gonna say I keep on forgetting this guy's actor's name, the character of Martin, but I like him
Uh,
because he was in Raising Hope as Bert Chance.
Garrett Dillahunt.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think he also worked heavily in
Um,
My Name Is Earl, but I could be wrong. So,
I don't know who was he in that.
in Raising Hope, he was Bert Chance, and
Oh, I meant My Name Is Earl. I haven't seen Raising Hope.
he's not in Raising or My Name Is Earl, which is saying
Oh,
something because I'm
okay.
pretty sure it's the same, like set in the same universe technically, but I could be wrong.
Oh, is this that show they made after that?
Yeah, I think it's done by the uh, same people, but
Okay.
uh,
Yeah.
it's done
Okay.
by
Yeah, I never saw that movie. Never that show. So
it's both done by Greg Garcia.
yeah.
So
Yeah, Martin. Like it's also we saw earlier when Scott went to call Tanaka back and accept the job. That Tanaka was in a room with a couple military guys. So yeah, there's some contact with the military going on in there. It could be that this is a whole like side operation. Like they're like Tanaka's a middleman because you can't like the government couldn't like possibly put this in their budget, but they could easily just like pay Tanaka if he delivers or whatever. I don't know. So yeah, they go on to go along. Martin's a shady character, but we'll move on to that. Yeah, at this point we get uh, Scott goes to meet with Kate, in who's again volunteering at the quarantine camp. Kate puts him in contact with the coyote named Lily, called Lily, who agrees to smuggle them in. At this point, it's also revealed that Kate's friend had wandered in, and Kate's going to go in, forces herself into the operation so she can go look for her friend and bring her back because she left two kids behind. So yeah, she bullies her way into this whole operation. So they go into this. They're getting prepped to sneak in when good old Bert comes wandering around. Uh, Good old Bert with a U. That's how you know they're the shady ones. Bert's with an E is the clean ones, but if it's spelled with a U, they're shady. That's how it works. So yeah, Bert with a U comes on and it comes by and just starts asking questions, and just the coyote gets them off their backs by saying, hey, you want to earn 20 grand? So he's coming along. So yeah, that's and now we've got our full crew. So yeah, they get out, and they we get to see a few of the interesting issues here. Is apparent we get to see a big pile of zombies right outside the wall. Apparently, they're just dehydrated, and when it rains, these things come back to life because it's really hot in Vegas, and if they stand out in the sun too long, they'll like die, sort of, or go into hibernation. Also, zombies hibernate in this film.
yeah, that's why I said they're most likely vampires. But it's also never shown that they come out at like nighttime or anything. So technically not vampires.
Well, the movie like seems to take place entirely during the day,
Yeah, fair enough.
so that's probably why that is. But I think, yeah, I think this whole thing takes place over the course of like a few hours. Yeah, I don't think it's 12, 13, 14 hours, maybe something like that. So yeah, that after that little bit of Timbits, uh, we we were introduced to one of the cool things about this movie is that there's zombie animals. demonstrated by the zombified tiger, who apparently is one of Siegfried and Roy's iconic white tigers, apparently by the name of Valentine.
Yeah, but it's also Las Vegas, and if you'd think if it, like there's one zombie tiger that like at least one zombie got in like into the zoo and just like went to town on all the animals. So you'd think there'd be more than just a zombie tiger, like zombie dogs or zombie cats or
Maybe they nuked the. Maybe they already bombed the zoo because we saw them bombing parts
yeah,
of Vegas during the beginning.
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but yeah, this is probably the only film where we straight up get a lot more. I think it's the only one we've covered where there's a lot of zombie animals, even though there's only really two in the movie. But yeah, yeah, I don't know the whole explanation for it. It's more. It's very much just like this is a thing done for cool factor. But still, they have a little standoff with the tiger before it runs away. When they come a little bit into the city, Lily the coyote does a coyote. For those of you who don't know, is a term around the border for people smuggler or people trafficker, depending on how you want to put it. Or I think yeah. So yeah, that's a whole. She's does a whole thing where she tricks Bert with a U into giving up his gun, and then they tie him, and then she ties him up and leaves him for bait as an offering to the zombies. Because at this point, she explains the whole deal I explained to you earlier with the zombies alphas and all that. That's how she explains the whole thing. This is where she explains the whole thing, and she needs to give a sacrifice in order to get into the city without like actively getting pursued by the big guns. Although they're supposed to go in through the indoors. Yeah, so he Bert gets dragged away. The zombie queen, who we see, who's dressed in some sort of showgirl outfit, and she has like a big bodyguard guy that's with her all the time, and he and the bodyguard their drags Bert away as a sacrifice. There's also some conversations that suggest that this is where Kate's friend is, because there are people that have escaped from that bit, from the inner sanctum of Zeus, and they were getting saved to get turned into alphas. After this, they go inside and have to wander through a bunch of like actually hibernating zombies that are just kind of like standing still in the middle of an empty room because they don't have anything to do. And at its point, they're just like, "Oh yeah, just stay still, like walk slowly, don't make eye contact, don't touch anything, and you'll be fine." Of course, you're like very scarcely like weaving through every little gap in the horde. So yeah, they do this for a little while until the person at the back of the line, Reddit guy's goon, Chambers, she ends up accidentally bumping into somebody and has to shoot her way out, which ends up having them everyone here having to shoot their way through this area, which isn't too hard, except for her who's like really surrounded. Martin was second from the back, so he's directly in front of her, and they're both both in a little bit of a problem, and they're running out of there. And Martin gets out of this area they're in first and barricades the door. And when Chambers gets to the door, he doesn't open it for her, which debatably could be a he doesn't want to like risk it, but it is still like it seems like she probably had time. They probably could have let her through easily enough, especially since he's only like keeping it locked with like a chair through the door. But I kind of like this because he's still being a sinister figure, but he's being as reasonable as like you could possibly expect from a being who's a character who's this sinister. I can't speak for his actions later in this movie, but this is kind of a decision I kind of find. His character is obviously like, oh, he's in here to try to secretly get something other than what's on the job list. And he's eventually going to betray the rest of the crew. Which, yeah, I've seen this character done worse. He's not the best example. And I think even the best examples of this character are still kind of like rough. But I think they do pretty good with this. This is a pretty good scene where he's like sort of, you can see where he's coming from. So he leaves Chambers to die. And after they clear out a few more of the zombies, Chambers does actually manage to break through a window and make her way out of there, but not out of there enough because she eventually gets caught by a horde again, and they have to shoot the gas tank on her back in order to kill a bunch of the zombies. I gotta point out that every explosion in this is like ludicrously over the top.
I just assumed that I just assumed that they would have guessed this from the fact that it's Zack Snyder and Dave Bautista in a film.
Yeah, they're yeah, but I mean they're very like Michael Bay esque explosions, though not like every one of them happens in a reasonable scenario, which is what maybe separates him from Michael Bay. But the aesthetics are very Michael Bay in the explosions.
Fair
Like
enough.
every explosion is like the most fiery thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Um, which sometimes is nice, but it's very they're not the nicest
I
ones I've seen.
I think it's allowed here.
Yeah. Yeah, especially like this one where it's a gas tank
Mhm.
going. But I mean, the explosion at the beginning with the car crash at the beginning, that was kind of very over the top. Like that was way bigger than it needed to be. And then there's one later where they ignite a bunch of grenades and it's probably not what it should look like, especially because they threw a grenade earlier in the movie and it didn't look like that. But apparently when you light 4 grenades at a time, it's like the big gasoline explosions that we saw earlier. But yeah, it's not it's a nitpick. I'm not like holding this like really heavily against the movie, but it is a thing I noticed. I think this is a factor which could have been stood from some improvement. So yeah, they get out of this situation and they make their way to the hotel. And we also get some good face acting from Mikael Mickey. We get some good face acting from Mickey's character, who gets some like solemn moments, and he's sort of like really taking it seriously. Like some of the clips you see like him like doing YouTube videos earlier in the movie, and you think, oh, this character's going to be really douchey, but he's actually all right. He takes his job seriously, which is good to know. So they're wandering. They make their way over here, and they find some more blueprints. So they find out that there was a previous team here earlier. So that's good to know. And as they get back to down to the safe, they find more Deady Eyes who seem to be members of a previous team. Probably a scouting mission of some sort with not as much information. But yeah, so everyone goes about their tasks. Uh, they bring they bring the pilot up to the helicopter to go get it repaired and fueled up. She ends up having a good bit of trouble with this. It's in worse shape than they thought it was going to be. Although they don't get it, she does get it running by the end of the movie. Scott and Kate go power up the generator, which there's a little bit of a mistake here. I think they should be using more diesel fuel in this, and diesel fuels come in yellow containers.
I don't think
Like that generator is definitely going to be diesel powered.
I don't think it really I don't think that's how it's like defined in television films at all. Yeah, or what I'm
There's
saying
no
is
reason you can't use it in real life.
yeah,
But
but you don't
yeah,
necessarily need to like
go ahead.
go in and fill like they're gas canisters. You just put them in gas in them. Like what?
Yeah, but yeah, you can use them for any purpose, but really, like some of these are should definitely be more diesel canisters because that generator is definitely a diesel generator. Like, I don't think they run gasoline in a diesel generator. Yeah,
Next, you're telling me I can't drink my Pepsi from a Coke bottle.
um, I mean, I don't think there's a. I mean, I think if you worked for Coke, they might get mad at
I
you.
don't think Zack Schneider works for
But those
big
people are weird.
oil.
Well, I mean, this is more of a safety thing more than anything. Although it's maybe zombie rules. Also, I don't know what helicopters run off of.
Probably not diesel.
Um, I wonder if it's jet fuel.
No, it's definitely
Um,
not jet fuel, but like I'm assuming it has like it's
what do helicopters run on? Okay, so yeah, it's the helicopter could maybe run off gasoline, but there's no way to know. Depends on the helicopter. Although it's like aviation gasoline and not like car gasoline, which I mean they've definitely have that distinction made. All these fuel canisters look the same, but realistically they should have two different fuel canisters. One for the generator, one for the helicopter. But that's beside the point. I'm being nitpicky.
also
This is more nitpicky than my explosions, really.
there's also I don't know. I guess there's probably people who own like privatized helicopters out here,
Yeah.
but like we don't own helicopters. We don't know what helicopters run off of. I'm assuming like the closest thing Kyle might know of is like crop dusters.
Well, that's a plane.
Yeah,
So
and I mean
that's
they're small
I
enough
don't
that
yeah, I also don't know what planes run off.
well, I'm assuming they're small enough that they would run off of just gas because of the engine in them. They don't really need as much. I'm assuming fuel.
Main distinction here is that like diesel should be in a yellow container, which is the main point I'm trying to make. But anyway, moving on. Meanwhile, the Coyote and Martin go board up the casino, and in the meantime, they go on a little secret mission to go capture the zombie queen, which they successfully do, dispatching her bodyguard and uh, like shooting her with some sort of boa grenade. Yeah, I guess that I don't know if that's a thing.
I don't know if a boa grenade is a thing, but like a boa grenade launcher, I'm assuming like there's definitely net launchers out there, but this is very distinctly a
Yeah,
boa. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing.
yeah, it's being fired from his underslung grenade launcher. So
I don't know. I kind
yeah,
of want one of these now.
yeah, it is kind of a lot of the guns in this are kind of cool.
I'm gonna say, in my opinion, it is cooler than the guy with the giant saw. I don't know.
I mean, the giant saw is also kind of cool.
Yeah, but that was this character's whole like character development. Like that's all the character was about this whole entire film was like, I've got a giant saw, don't touch my saw, and that's this whole
And then he doesn't use the saw in the later half of the movie.
so
But yeah, they go to do that. They do that successfully and put the zombie queen's head in a bag. Because they're going to smuggle the zombie queen's head in a bag. Because this can be used to like restart a zombie army if they can need to. It'll later be explained by Martin that this is worth 10 times what's in the safe, which will be important later. Which kind of believe. I believe the military could spend would spend 20 billion dollars on this. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but I can believe they did it.
yeah.
Moving on, the boys go down to the safe. They break through some.
Wait a second. What? This is stupid.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the movie starts with the fact that instead of they transported Zeus in the beginning by a military operation, transported him in the back of a truck, and the fact that he escaped from the back of the truck is the whole premise of this film. The characters later on in the movie are like, we need to go fight this whatchamacallit, this go get this queen and chop her head off and give it to the military.
Yep.
So in the start of the movie, why didn't they just chop off Zeus's head and then transport it via a briefcase rather than leaving his full body intact and then
You know what? I think this just comes to down to the military not being very smart.
okay.
like that's like okay, yeah. Don't get after me about that. That's a valid thing. The military, especially higher up in the military, aren't always particularly the smartest. They sometimes get ideas in their head. We all know this.
It is kind of low key baffling, like that this talk Tanaka guy is like, hey, why don't we just like and probably went through like 20 lines of bureaucracy to like we need to transport this military, so we need to get commands from the higher ups and like put in fail safes, and then all of those fail safes continued to fail, and we end up with a zombie apocalypse. That's generally why I'm kind of like really concerned about nuclear war at this point in time. I think from research, it's stated that it's more likely that like we're gonna die from a nuclear apocalypse because of improper storage and um, other forms rather than like somebody actually dropping a nuke on us. I'm pretty sure in the United States, really early on, that they've lost nukes somewhere in over over the continent because they've dropped nukes by accident and stuff like that. So I really don't trust the military with their nuclear weapons as much as you'd think we
Yeah,
should. So, although this is also,
God forbid we do anything about it in Congress.
yeah, but once again, this is also the United States. I don't know how much of this is
Yeah.
based out of Canada. So maybe we have a better track record.
Oh, we don't have weapons. Yeah.
We have nukes.
Canada, as far as anyone knows, does not have nuclear weapons at the current time. We had them. We got rid of them because they were the dumb kind
Okay,
of
fair
nukes.
enough.
Yeah, they were like anti-nuclear missile nuclear
Oh,
missiles. Yeah, they were straight up like, oh, you fire this into the air and it catches the other missile in a nuclear explosion, stopping that one, and then just putting like radioactive isotopes over top of all of Canada, or like at least doing an
yeah,
EMP or
fair
something.
enough.
Depending on where the missile's going, it might, yeah, altitude might like prevent like radiation from getting anyone on the ground, but still,
Okay,
it was dumb, and we got rid of it for good reason.
fair
I
enough.
think they talked Pearson into it. Uh, See my earlier thing about like Kennedy giving Pearson a campaign manager. That was part of the reason why he wanted to give us those things. And then Trudeau, like Pierre Trudeau, got rid of them like 10 years later.
Yeah,
Our boy Diefenbaker, he didn't want them. And then the Americans talked Pearson into doing to putting them in when he won, and then Pierre Elliott Trudeau decided to get rid of him when it came into power in the 70s. Or maybe he did this in the 80s. I might be getting my dates slightly wrong there. Those are the events anyway. So yeah, they start breaking the safe. They have to open up a couple gates first. It's at this point they find like the guys, the previous crew, and Vanderholm makes a joke, starts making a joke to them as they're like struggling with like the second like steel gate before the safe, and are just like, hey, maybe this is all a time loop. Maybe that's just us, and we're just doing a whole thing. And he's like doing it to freak the German guy out, and then eventually he blows the gate, and almost doesn't quite manage to spook them, but it's kind of an interesting thing. It's a whole fun little way of messing with everybody. So yeah, they do that. They set off a couple traps, which apparently the traps don't reset. Like there's three traps. There's a dart trap, a machine gun trap, and a big squish wall trap. Okay, the darts I get not resetting. The machine guns, okay, it feels like there maybe should be more a spare set of ammo in there. But like the big squish trap, why wouldn't you just like you put the hydraulics in? Why don't you just maybe it's just like a spring mechanism? I don't know.
yeah. I don't really have
This is
an
all very expensive and dumb.
answer to that question, and I thought they did reset, be considering like, oh, I guess once they got into the safe that they restart, but when somebody doesn't get
Yeah.
into it, it restarts. Could considering they
Well, no, it doesn't seem like the traps are active again
afterwards,
because they
yeah,
never have to worry about the machine guns firing twice.
once they get in. But
So these are
the
one
people
offs.
that are all dead and have died to the traps, I'm assuming, right? Like, how are the
Yeah, I guess no one ever got this far. I don't
Well,
know.
they got that far, but they did get past the traps, which is also really dumb considering like he's the like the hotel manager, right? Like he owns the hotel. He should have been able to like preemptively warn anybody going into this vault like what sort of traps are set up around him unless he's like a really rich millionaire and is like just like yeah, put some death traps in and don't tell me about him. Like I want plausible deniability type level of bullshit, but
I think it's also possible that he may not actually own this place.
fair enough. But it's also kind of I'm sorry, but that's got to be some level of like weird racism going on considering like Batista character like when he walked uh into the saloon into the beginning like they're like, "Oh, that's Blythe Tanaka." Like he already knew the character's name. So unless like, Batista is just, like, calling every Asian person he sees Blythe Tanaka, then I don't think this is, like, some other person.
No, I believe he's who he says he is. I just it's possible that Bly doesn't own the hotel.
Oh,
I'm saying.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, okay, like I mean, maybe you Google that, but like he could just say maybe it's just like, oh yeah, it's owned by like whatever company, and yeah, I have controlling interest
Mhm.
in that, and it wouldn't necessarily show up on Google, so that would maybe get it past the Google
I
search. But
mean, maybe
anyway,
there's something was said, and I just really wasn't paying attention to that whole, like, opening scene.
they sure don't know the safe
Uh-huh.
combination.
Fair enough.
I'll say that much.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point in hindsight, like
Maybe I mean you could make an argument that only the hotel manager knows the safe, and like I doubt that like Bly was like literally the hotel
mhm.
manager of that place. But yeah, so there's yeah, I don't know. Any of these things are possible. But anyway, after they get this stuff started, we get a news report saying that they've managed. There's good news. They managed to talk Trump out of nuking Las Vegas on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Instead, he's going to blow up Las Vegas on the 3rd of July,
Yeah.
moving that 24 hours they had to spare up. So now they have to get out of there in like 90 minutes. God damn it. This is why I'm pretty sure this is Trump. This is just like I believe Trump would do this.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure even like earlier on, it was said it wasn't just illegal immigrants, but it was also political dissidents and a couple of other things. When they're like, "Oh yeah, like the president's using the quarantine or zombie quarantine zone as like a imprisonment camp for illegal immigrants and like political dissidents." So he's literally just sticking his political opponents into like a zombie death trap and saying, "Well, nobody's technically running against me anymore. So I rule the United States." And I feel like if that is something that Trump could be doing right now, he would definitely 100% be doing it.
Yeah, I just like, he never got that dire enough situation where he could get away with it.
Fair enough.
And like that seems to be like when the more I've like researched what happened there, it just seems that like there were a lot of guys that were just like, "Oh, look, man, I'm fine with you being like a little douchebag, but I'm not gonna break the law for you." And that's where a lot of Trump's little dumb people, like random dumb people, will break the law for you, but like not like the big, important, dumb
high
people.
profile. And I mean, a lot of them did
Yeah, for the most
break the
part.
law for him, and just now they're starting to pay the
Yep.
price for it. I think Giuliani was also indicted on a lot of the tax or the
Yeah, but I'm speaking more about like I'm speaking more of like the guys who weren't like in Trump's like direct political circle. Like
oh,
high
fair
up
enough. Yeah,
members of the military weren't like, "Oh yeah, man, I got your back. I will break all the constitutional laws for you." That seems like it wasn't a thing.
fair enough.
Yeah, that was the thing he couldn't pull off. He doesn't have that sort of like
S-
level of loyalists.
What you're saying is the thing that's stopping Trump from being like a complete monster is like a few people who are like, yeah, we're not gonna do that. Essentially,
Yeah,
yeah, fair enough.
more or
Fair
less.
enough.
Because I mean, you look at you look at like a full ass
Hmm.
dictators. They they have like everyone's a part of their political
Yeah,
party. Like they're all very close friends of the dictator, which you can't say that as much about Trump. That's absolutely a portion of the Trump government,
yeah.
but it's not as full.
I feel
Yeah,
like a lot of people stood up to Trump um, really early on. From my understanding, like he was going through stuff fairly regularly because people weren't doing what Trump wanted them to. So
yeah, that's part of it.
some of the
But there's like a lot of like Bush. Yeah, there's a lot of like Bush era and or like even Bush and Obama era guys that were like, yeah, we'll support you, Don, but like not like on the premise that you continue to win elections, not so much just because you say so.
keep this
Yeah,
rolling here,
yeah,
considering
yeah. We're
we've
gonna
only
move on.
got like 30 more minutes here
Yep, yep,
to
yep.
finish up the.
Sorry, yeah, we're getting a whole thing. So yeah, they the safe breaker says that he can open the safe in 30 minutes, but he needs everyone to like be absolutely quiet while he does it because he only gets one more try at it, and he needs complete silence to get it to work because it's like such a delicate thing. And if he fails if he fails at it one more time, it's going to seal forever. So we got a couple scenes in the meantime here where we saw Bert get bitten by Zeus to become an alpha. We also introduced to like we also like earlier in the movie got introduced to the premise that the zombie queen was pregnant. Best I can find that the lore behind this is that the woman who would become the zombie queen was pregnant when she was bitten.
Hey, fair enough. Yeah.
Like was in that little yeah, and that's why like uh which is the difference between the woman in Dawn of the Dead who like was like 9 months pregnant when she was bitten. This woman was bitten when she was like a couple months. And yeah, Zeus still seriously seems to think this baby was his, which also, I mean, none of this was textual to the movie. Like I saw someone suggest that on like a forum or something. It's possible that these two zombies had sex and this is like an actual like conception. I'm not going to like pay too much attention to that. We're just gonna move on. But yeah, apparently the zombie queen was pregnant when she was murdered or had her head cut off, whatever, which does kill the lower half of the
Mm.
body because these are headshot death zombies, unlike last week. So they open up the yeah. Eventually, Zeus realizes that the queen's been killed, and he goes to get his on his zombie horse, which he never uses in the entire movie, and goes on a war and goes to raid the casino because he's mad now and he's guessing these random idiots did it. Which a couple of these
And
random idiots did it, so he's not far
also
off.
somehow he knew that they were in the casino just magically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Convenient plot
He might have had people looking at. He might have
is
had people looking
convenient.
for them. I don't know. He might have scouts. I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. Um. Also, the daughter left to go find her friend, so that's good to know. So yeah, the zombies start showing up. They break their way down the elevator shaft and just start dropping down the elevator and attacking them in the lower part of the safe as they're like getting the money out of here, as they're starting to grab the money and leave. They're trying. Martin leaves first and locks them in there, which is the thing where like I got really annoyed at him because he's just like he doesn't care. Tanaka doesn't care about the money. This head's worth 10 times more, and I'm like, you know, sure, but 20 if he had just cooperated and like helped them out, he would have $20.15 billion instead of $20
Yeah,
billion,
and also,
which is better.
like, if I'm going to be like betraying a team, this guy really likes to announce that he's betraying them instead of just like going
Yeah.
till the end, like sneaking off, doing my thing, getting the body, coming back, and just pretending like nothing happened during the whole entire thing. You probably would have made it out. And even at that, if Fuckface literally just went to Dave Batista, Tanaka went to Dave Batista and said, "Hey, we're gonna go get this money and we're gonna split it." Even if they weren't doing 50-50, he still would have walked out with the head. And what's to say that like Dave Batista isn't morally ambiguous? Like Dave Batista's character does not give a fuck if there's um Tanaka's shady business dealings is going on in the background. Like, I don't know. Just be more upfront with your evil plan if you could, and like just let your characters decide whether or not they're willing to doom society for, I don't know, $200 million.
Yeah, maybe this is a bigger issue later when they're trying to when they need to go rescue the daughter.
Yeah, fair
I don't
enough.
know. But anyway, yeah, they were also going to go rescue the daughter. What was her name? The lead
Kate.
character's name? But yeah, anyway, um the female
Oh,
lead and Dave are talking about how they
that
love
was
each other and they're
Cruz.
going to go save Kate.
Cruz. There was Cruz, then
Okay. Yeah.
Chambers, then Kate. I got it wrong earlier. Greta was the lady that was uh Kate's friend who was in the zone who got kidnapped.
Anyway, the point is this woman who's about to be a love interest is instantly killed when the zombies show up because they break open the elevator door and like full on turn her head 180 degrees, killing her. So they have to go away. Martin locks them in there. The crew uses. They still have Vanderholm's or that not Vanderholm. I don't think that's correct. Yeah, Vanderhose escape saw, which they use to cut a hole in the concrete so they can leave. This doesn't do him any good because it turns out Martin, the coyote, had switched the head with a typewriter. Actually, no, a money counter. Sorry, and so he didn't have the head actually. Turns out Coyote still has the head, and at this point, the giant zombie lion comes after him and kills him. Full on, like eats his face, along with like the top front half of his brain. It's also noted when the alpha zombies get killed, they have a big bit of blue glowing stuff come out of their head when they're shot in the head. So that's interesting. A little bit of a note. Mickey ends up getting caught by the zombies and blows up a bunch of grenades. The Coyote and Scott go up to the top floor because they're the only ones remaining. Vanderho and Dieter fight, or Vanderho fights the Zeus in the basement and ends up getting his butt kicked. He ends up getting thrown into the open safe, and Dieter locks him in the safe for some reason, sacrificing himself. That's a terrible thing to do. Yeah, that's probably a bad idea. But yeah, seemingly leaving him to die at the same time. Yeah.
I mean, I guess technically you're not going to be turned into a zombie, but you're going to starve to death in this safe for the rest of like your miserable life.
Maybe also, well, you die of thirst
Yeah,
first, but also like there's a big nuke coming. So hopefully this safe is nuclear proof.
maybe. It is a big fancy
Um,
safe, let's be honest.
who knows? Yeah.
Like it could
Yep.
be.
Yeah, it's really big. Yeah, that's they end up getting left behind. Scott and the Coyote get to the helicopter, which just barely manages to get running right before they leave. The Zeus shows up and is about to threaten them, but the Coyote takes the head out of the bag and holds a gun to it, threatening him, threatening her, saying she'll shoot the head if they don't leave her alone. Scott gets on the helicopter. The Coyote says for her to leave him. She also brings up that she offered to help Martin because he said they'd let the guys out of the prison camp if she did that, which I guess that's a motivation, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. She has a consistent character in this movie. So yeah, they do that. Scott goes to the other hotel where Zeus was living from. All while the Coyote gets speared with a spear, and she throws the Queen's head off the side of the building. So yeah, Scott manages to go over to the other casino. He saves the daughter and one of the girls. There were two girls she found. One of them got saved from saved. I think the other one gets on the helicopter. I lost track of them, but Scott manages to save him. They get on. They all get on the The three of them get on the helicopter after Pearson. What's her name? Peters. Peters turns goes flies around, decides to come back for them. But as they're flying away, Zeus jumps onto the helicopter, and they have to do a bit of a rumble with him. The rumble eventually results in a little bit of a gunfight. Scott accidentally fires his gun, shooting Peters in the arm. Eventually, I think one of the girls falls out at some point, or she dies in a couple minutes here. And the thing that'll happen next, Scott and Zeus fight. Eventually, Scott gets bit and fires his pistol into Zeus's head, killing him. The nuke, in the meantime, is going overhead and detonates over the city of Vegas. The helicopter gets caught in the dust cloud, and they end up crashing because, well, also Peters is already injured, so she ends up crashing. Kate and Scott end up surviving the crash, barely. Scott's been bitten in the fight, so they have their bit of a father daughter moment, and then Scott succumbs to zombieism and gets shot. And this part of the movie ends with Kate uh, getting standing in the wreckage crying, and a big Chinook helicopter coming to go check out what the deal is because they saw this
Okay, so I
helicopter
missed that
crash.
part.
Well, it was like as they were ending. It was like as after
Right.
she shot Scott.
So they do definitely check out people coming out of the airplane then,
Oh
except
yeah.
for some people.
So yeah, that's but we get a little bit of the movie doesn't quite end yet, and thank God it's not like a mid-credit sequence or anything. But Vanderho crawls out of the wreckage. God knows how much longer
Hmm.
later. With two big bags of money. So I guess the safe was nuclear proof. I guess you can do this. Like he's probably had a bunch of radiation exposure, but I think I did some research. He could be fine from that. I think after a couple days, it's
I guess there's enough
fine.
concrete, right? That's how you really. really stop radiation poisoning is like concrete. Yeah. I guess there's a difference between like surviving a nuclear blast and surviving radiation afterwards is two very different things. So
Yeah, assuming this bomb was like downscaled to the size of like the Hiroshima bombs, which is entirely reasonable, I think. Like this, they could have. This is easy to like imagine, really. I think, but assuming that the area should be like strictly speaking safe to walk around for like a couple days after the explosion. I mean, the doctor's probably like screening you for cancer like twice as frequently, but still, he might be fine. But anyway, he ends up renting a private jet with his money, and he ends up trying to. He makes his way to Utah, and he hires a private jet. And at that point, he gets into the air, and it's revealed that he has been bitten by a zombie, and that's credits. I guess yeah, that's the end of the movie. I guess one interesting thing we didn't really talk about is they actually call them zombies in this movie, which yeah, not typically a
yeah,
thing. But yeah, it's mentioned that they call them different things. And
yeah.
yeah. But anyway,
Well, considering it had like everything going for it, I thought it was going to be better. I like that the fact that it's not like a traditional zombie movie; it's more of a heist movie. So it's like a heist movie in a zombie world. Once again, it had a lot going for it, and then it kind of fell flat to me. And I don't know if that's like Zack Snyder's fault or Dave Bautista's fault because Dave Bautista can't act or Zack Snyder can't write. Either one, I'm gonna say probably about 6 out of 10. It just kind of didn't compete for me, in my opinion.
I'm slightly higher. Yeah. I'm
Fair
closer to
enough.
a 7. Yeah, I can't in my heart of hearts give this an 8. I think it's better
Yeah.
than Dawn of the Dead. Like his Dawn of the Dead.
Like once again, I said I like that the fact that it was a heist movie within a zombie universe, but also it is kind of losing its luster for both of those things because it's trying to mesh genres too much. Yes.
I don't think I'm not as big a fan of this as I am of like Zombie 3,
Yeah.
honestly. I think Zombie 3 is a better zombie action movie. And that's still just a 7. Like that's just barely.
I like that it fleshes out some of the zombie like lore in this world at least
Yeah.
a little bit better
Yeah, it's different.
than other zombie movies do.
I kind of curious where they go with this, but yeah.
Yeah. I didn't watch Army of Thieves though. I might.
Um
I didn't.
no, I didn't either. It doesn't have
Oh.
zombies in it. I checked. Like I think there's some flashback sequence, like nightmare sequences, but there's no
Oh,
zombies
that's
in it
kind
as
of
far as I
upsetting.
know.
But
Yeah, I think they said there were nightmare sequences, but I don't think there were actually. Yeah. So yeah, Curtis might be back for Diary of the Dead. I've gotten in contact with him. We're just deciding on a date. So that'll happen when that happens. And then yeah, still on track to do a Zombie 4 thing near the end of the month. So yeah,
okay,
that'll be all. Have see you next week or see you soon.
fair enough.
Bye. Get out.